My button here. So today, what I'm going to stand up here on the stage and try to get through for you folks is talking about migrating Windows and SQL Server 2008 to Azure. For myself, my name is John Hildebrand. I'm a principal technologist at Cohesity. So what that means is, it's not a marketing title, so I get to at least be able to talk tech for at least a little bit to folks. So, raising hands. Who's still running 2008 or a combination of that with SQL Server? A good amount of you. So as we take a look at the timeline of Windows 2008 and SQL Server 2008, we can take a look at that it's been out for a while. We go all the way back literally to the year 2008 to where the original server and SQL Server were released in the first half. As we start the evolution in the timeline, we start to see the service packs, and then we get that R2 version that came out. And as we see, R2 ended up being relatively preferred up to our final service packs and our final service pack for SQL Server and for R2, which it's been a while since we've had major updates to that particular platform. The biggest thing that's happened, though, is we're right around here. We've already had an end of support for SQL Server 2008, and forthcoming at the literally 15 days after the calendar flips over, Server 2008 loses its support. Not ready to upgrade? One of the things is I'm not going to sit here and chastise anybody for not being willing to upgrading. There's plenty of factors on why we're still on some older operating systems. I mean, I can probably take a quick poll of the audience and realize that most of this may come from the fact there's third-party support, there's a vendor you're working with that hasn't updated yet. So plenty of reasons why we're on those older versions. However, Microsoft is offering a solution. They came to us sometime in the summer and had this idea of extending and getting at least 3 more years of valid support for these platforms. The only catch, you had to move the workload to Azure. How many folks who were using the 2008 combinations, are you using Azure at the same time? So not quite as many hands came up on that one. So what we're going to talk about is actually doing something to migrate that workload. So when you think about the migration process, many solutions do exist for this to happen. Microsoft has some built-in solutions. There's a bevy of DR solutions that are out there on the market as well. However, most of them, what they do is they target the production workload. And when you look at the production workload, it may already be at maximum, it may be taxed, so adding more overhead to try to get information out of it may not be a really good method for potentially causing problems with the running workload in production. So, and one of the things that we also see is many of those tools fail to account for that usage pattern. Again, whether it's installing an agent, doing something external to the system that's on there. I know personally, when I've worked in the enterprise, plenty of solutions have caused major CPU problems, started to chew up RAM, which are very critical to those particular systems. So, at Cohesity, we have, obviously, have a backup system in play. So why not utilize the backups for this? Makes a little bit of sense. What happens is most of this workload is away from the production environment. You don't have to worry about taxing an already taxed environment. So in our particular case, this lessens the burden, resulting in a much smoother transfer of data. If you think about it, when you have those issues with CPU and memory, you can get a little out of sync, which causes major problems with what you're trying to actually move to Azure. And on top of it, less impact to the day-to-day operations while you're using your backups instead. So this is where our platform comes into play. We have a solution built in called CloudSpin, and what it does is when you perform those backups, we keep a fully hydrated image for every backup that happens. So when you think of other backup solutions on the market, what happens is you get to see a lot of chain-based solutions. You start with a full backup and you have these incremental slivers. And when you go to restore, you start with the full and you merge in all the chains. In our solution, what we're actually doing is each backup is a fully hydrated image. So less overhead when trying to get to that data because we already have a full copy available at that time. So we have two ways that we can migrate this built into our platform. One is via policy. You can add this as part of your normal retention and frequency policy that'll automatically do this for you for every backup that happens. Maybe not in an initial case, but over the course of time, maybe you want to keep relative updated, a frequent amount of catalogs of these VMs out in Azure. Or the other one is through, I dub it a one-off request. We call it our test dev workflow, that you can do this just utilizing your point in times and basically just doing a one-off solution out there to Azure and other clouds as well. But I'm going to talk mostly about Azure in this case. And the cool thing about the one-off request is, I do a lot of scripting, especially like PowerShell, Python, is this one-off request is available through scripting in our API languages, so it's something that can be added to a lot of automation systems you may already have in your environment. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a demo of this. Now, don't get too excited, it's not a live demo. There are the things about trying to do a live demo on the floor that I don't want to end up having a flaming problem inside of my data center. So, in this particular case, I have a SQL 2008 server running in vSphere. Now keep in mind, we also can do this from Hyper-V as well. I just, at the time, did not have a Hyper-V environment up and available to be able to show this. So, it's a running virtual machine that we have, and as you can see, yes, I am using a video in this regard. So, we're taking a look at the fact that we do have a valid IP address so we can connect to that particular endpoint, which I already do have an RDP session here, so that we can see inside of it that the 2008 Management Studio is up, and we have a production database called prod new. So, and just to validate, in this case, I am using 2008 R2 Data Center. So, it is one of the older versions of the operating system. So as we maneuver along here, we're going to take a look into the database to show that we do have this bevy of tables, so it's not just a single database. The idea is, when we move this, I do want to show that all those tables do exist out there in the workload. All right. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to the Azure account. Now, the thing for us to work is, unlike a DR solution, we already have to have our Azure account pre-configured. So, in this case, I already have a bunch of things out in my resource group that I'm going to copy this to. There's already a VNet, there's already a storage blob, and a storage container available for this to copy. So now I'm switched over to our UI. You should see I have a job here called SQL Server 2000 Backup. So in this case, I've only got 2 point in times. I'm going to go in here and show that I am pointing to that same vCenter, and it is that particular VM. That's the only thing in this job. So I have ran it twice. So I have at least 2 fully hydrated images with a separation of time between those. And even from a backup perspective, it's only taken about 2 minutes, and then the second one about 29 seconds afterwards to perform the backup. So I've switched over to our test dev workflow, and I'm going to perform a VM clone. First of all, I have to look into our solution and find that particular workload that I'm looking for. I can look via the job, which I'm clicking on right here, which automatically selected the VM. And then we're presented this UI that I do have the option to change, and there we see those 2 point in times that I had within the other UI section. So I can switch back and forth between the two. Now, I do have a registered subscription to Azure. Again, things had to be pre-configured so that I can determine where this workload is going. So I have a resource group, and now I can select the compute type that I want this to run. So in this case, we do have a good selection of the either DS1, DS2, DS3. I'm just going to make this one of the old school A1s, so something more of a 1 vCPU, 2 gig of memory solution. Now I'm selecting my storage account and my container, which I named CloudSpin. I do have an option, especially for Azure, that I can convert the disks over to a managed disk. So if I want to utilize SSD tier or any of the other disk types in Azure for this solution, I can select that. So I can find this in my Azure account. I've put a prefix of Ignite dash, and now I'm selecting the virtual network, which is a simple VNet that just has a subnet that is allowed for me to connect over my VPN tunnel from my lab out to my Azure account. That was it. I just had to select those components, and now we're in the midst of performing our transfer of this particular device over. Down here, as we're going through the play-by-play, one of the first things we do is we're converting that workload, and then we're presenting it on our platform. And so at that point, we're taking that fully hydrated image, which right now is a VMware image base, and we're converting it to a VHD file, which is relatively simple to do from that conversion process. Now I'm going to go out to my Azure account because something interesting has already started to happen. I'm navigating my storage account, and I'm going to look through Storage Explorer. So I'm going to look through the blob containers, and you can see there was that CloudSpin container that I copied it to. Near the top of this list, with all the gibberish, there is the name called SQL 2008 Server 01 within the name .vhd. So we're already in the process of streaming that data over to our Azure account so that we can utilize this image. And I'm taking a look at it to confirm that is in fact my 30 gig image, and it was at the same time that I was performing this operation. So as we move through, during the status, this is where obviously the hurry up and wait part of the transfer happens. So let me see about fast forwarding this a little bit. So once we get towards the end, and I believe this process only took roughly about, at least for this size of image, about 3.5 minutes, at least from my connection to get the 30 gig and the information streamed up to the VHD file. So once we get to the success, we can see that there's some information about the VM that should be created out there in our Azure account. Now I'm going to do a quick refresh because one of the tells for our solution is when you do a refresh, if you can see there's a lock next to that VHD file. That means that file is in use in some capacity. So that means what we've done is when I move back to my resource group and look at my virtual machines and refresh, you can now see that I have Ignite SQL 2008 Server 01 with numbers behind it. So I'm looking at it, and you can see it's been given a private IP address in my VNet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to connect to that device utilizing that IP address. Again, I have a VPN tunnel connected to my Azure account, so it should work from where I'm located at. Of course, it takes a little bit of time. It's got to boot up, so I fast forward it quickly through there. And now I'm going to actually RDP to that particular device. So utilizing that Azure, my private IP address, I'm going to connect to it. Good sign when you get the credential box that you're able to connect to something, so it's not unable to connect. I connect up to it. There's 2008 R2. I go down. I find that there is the SQL Server Management Studio app installed on here. I'm pointing to just server name dot, so it should point to its local self. Log in with my SA account. Ultra secure, by the way, using the SA account. I look through. I misclick and click on the security tab, and you see there's the prod new database with all of the tables. So I've at least successfully taken that backup, and I've brought the entire workload over to Azure with nothing more than a couple of button clicks within our UI, utilizing your backups rather than utilizing the primary workload. So, based off of that, I will state from my perspective that when I saw that work the first time, I was actually rather impressed based off of that. So I will state that we are near getting close to done with this one, so if you would like to evaluate. Also at the same time, booth 1347, if you want to see more of CloudSpin and more of our backup and scale-out NAS solution in action, feel free to go there. And before everybody gets up and leaves, if you were given a ticket, I will select one, hopefully it's yours. If you have the ticket number 563806, yep, we have a winner. You win a arcade classic. All right, and if you have any more questions for me, once I'm done, I can meet over here and we can answer some more questions. Thanks, folks.